Welcome to another edition of All Octaves with me, Val Kleinhans, where we talk music with the fans and the musicians who make it. Today, some musicians who make it. We're talking with TimeScar today, specifically Scarlette from TimeScar. TimeScar is an alt metal-esque Colorado-based band focused on melodic music, heavy songs, a unique sound. They love the northern vibe with their stuff too. Scarlette, I love what you're doing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am a big fan of yours. I love your content. Thank you for having me. I'm just as excited to be here.
Yeah, this was an excuse, a PSA. This was an excuse just for us to talk, honestly. So for anybody listening, if it sounds like we're gabbing too much, I don't care.
Yeah.
We're just going to put it out there.
We've been waiting for this chat for a while, so.
We have been. So how did you and the rest of TimeScar meet? I guess the beginning is as good a place as any to start.
So the story is pretty interesting, really. It started out, I was actually in a different band, and we were kind of having a lot of creative differences and just kind of issues amongst members, and it was really hard to get everybody to show up to rehearsals and things like that. So I wasn't really feeling super fulfilled in that project, and so I decided to put out some feelers and see if anybody else was interested in collaborating or making music. And funny enough, a family friend of ours for a very long time, she's been one of my sister's best friends. She actually started dating somebody and came to find out that he was a big time metalhead. And I was like, okay, great. Like, wonder if this guy would be interested in doing some music together. And so we kind of started chatting through Facebook, and I had heard that he produced music. So we started chatting through Facebook, and then I decided to go over there one day and just kind of do a meet and greet type scenario with him. And we started talking about musical influences, and we realized we were really on the very same page with a lot of the music, that we listened to and that influenced us. So we decided that we were going to start playing covers, just the two of us. So funny enough, we started out just doing covers in his basement. He was playing guitar and I would sing, and a lot of it was like Deftones covers, because I'm like, all right, we both love Deftones. We connected in that way. It was kind of around, the style that we were kind of looking for, heavy but not super super aggressive always. And it worked really well with my vocal style. So that's kind of what we did. We worked in that fashion for, I don't know, geez, probably like maybe 6 months to a year. But we were still actively looking for other members. But it's hard to find other musicians. I'll say that. So
Really?
yeah. So we had a really hard time at first, especially finding people who wanted to do metal, progressive metal or
Oh.
alternative metal. So we found this platform, and it's called Band Mix. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but
No.
it's basically a platform that you sign up on, and you put like your demos or your interests or your music on there. And basically, what happens is you can broadcast that you're looking for members, like guitarists, drummers, whoever, whatever you want. Um, so we kind of made a profile on that, put out some feelers, and we had a couple of people reach out, and the first person that we had reach out was this guy named Stan. He's in our band now. But he was one of the first people that reached out. And it was super funny because the first time that we met up with him, we were just kind of like, huh, like we had we had some mixed feelings about him. And it wasn't anything personal at all. It was just like um he came from a very different like musical background kind of than we did.
Oh,
He
so
still
maybe
was
there were
like,
some questions as to would this work?
right, right,
Okay.
right. And so it wasn't like him personality wise. I click with a lot of people's personalities almost right away. So it wasn't that, but I was just kind of like, how is this going to fit with our music? Um, but but yeah, so anyways, it ended up working out great. We all got along really well. He was super dedicated. He loved kind of what me and Landon were doing, and so it worked out. And so that's kind of how we've gone about finding members. But with that being said, he's been the only person that we've found on Bandmix. We found like quite a few others, but they don't tend to work out. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles for us, is just
Yeah.
finding people that are that are as dedicated as we are. And we rehearse a lot, we practice 3 times a week. So, and we have full-time jobs. So, you get off work, you don't even eat dinner yet, and we go to rehearsal until 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. So I think for a lot of people that have got kids and families and they work full time, it's just too much for them. It's
Mhm.
just too much.
Yeah. Can you tell right away when somebody is on the same level of dedication as the rest of you are or not? Is it easy to spot that?
I think it's hard because
Mm.
and I kind of like to say it's like the honeymoon phase. It's like when people first start out in a band, they're really gung ho about it, and and they see if they see that you have like people that are interested in listening to you, or they have good chemistry with you, they're really into it at first, and they're eager, and they want to be there, and they want to practice outside of rehearsals and come to rehearsals with stuff learned, and all that stuff. But unfortunately, I think that when it gets tough, and you start to have creative differences within the band, or it is very much like being in a relationship with
Mm.
a group of people. And I think that people overlook that side of it. And so they think it's always just going to be fun, and it's always just going to be people, you know, excited about your music and praising you, and all this stuff. But then when the bad stuff happens, and you get that comment that's like you suck, or your
Yeah.
band is lame, or whatever, they can't handle that, and then they wonder why they're putting the time and energy and effort into what you're doing.
Wow.
So I think it's hard. It comes with struggles, and I mean, we've been a band since 2019, and so it hasn't been a real long time, but it's been long enough, I think, for us to know that we're gonna do this, and we're gonna stick through this. Um, at least with the dynamic that we have now, we're just really hoping we can find that other person that's in it for the long haul.
Hmm. So that's really interesting because I see your reels. They're hilarious. I saw the Hot Ones YouTube video. That was hysterical as well. I was like, thank God somebody knows that Bruce Dickinson is an actual pilot. I was like, thank you, because that's one of the coolest parts about Iron Maiden to me. But when I watch things like that you guys put out, you obviously don't take yourselves too seriously. So in my head, I'm like, well, how can somebody that doesn't take themselves seriously to begin with be that affected by criticism? Because you would think that they would just let it roll off their back and it wouldn't matter. So that really, really surprises me. I gotta
Yeah.
say.
And I think the thing is that as much as we do, goof around and have fun, and especially Stan, man, he cracks me up. Like almost every time I go to rehearsal, we're just laughing, and
Multiple accents. Like, what
right,
is this?
yes, he's the king of that. I love it. So, and he really just he has so many like fun sides to him and stuff. But then on the other side of that, we're all trying to push for this, and we're all trying to make as much put as much out there as we can. And so we realize that like there is a time for messing around and stuff, and there is a time for being serious. So it's like, when we have to get down to business, we do get down to business. And it's like when we, rehearse 3 times a week, and sometimes 4 times a week, like we expect everybody to be there. We expect
Mhm.
everybody to be there. We expect them to have learned, like, been practicing outside of rehearsals and stuff. And so I think that for some people, like even on our band mix, like we say, we are committed. So like we're not just trying to jam and just, do whatever, because we all want to push this further. We want to tour. We want to do that stuff. Um, and so yeah, we definitely have our funny side, but we definitely have our side. Lando, he is super, super great with like the logistics of everything. And he's so just organized, and he is like the mastermind behind so much of this because he comes from a marketing background, and He also produces a lot of our stuff, and he edits our videos. And so like without him, it's funny because each person kind of brings their own thing to the table, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and each person is very you know, strong in those values, and really brings that together. And so the three of us together, we have a great dynamic. And you know, I mean, of course it would be great to have a fourth, but you know,
Yeah,
right
it's
now we
gonna
do
happen.
what we can. We do what we can. Yeah, and it's
Right.
great.
Manifesting it, it's gonna happen.
That's how
Correct.
I feel.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have some marketing and design know-how too.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yes.
that helps.
Right. So yes, that's my full-time gig. So yes, I work in marketing, and I went to school for graphic design. So I love to dabble in that kind of stuff too. So yeah, I mean, it works out for us because I think, you know, if you do want to push forward and you do want to tour and stuff, that is a big part of it. Unfortunately, it's not the fun part of it. To have to, you know, be on a content release schedule and, you know, do all these things
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
would hope to eventually have a manager for, that we don't. You know, but that's just part of it. And I'm sure that you feel that too. You know, you've got your podcast. You do two podcasts, right? You do this one and another one.
I do 3. So I'm
Oh,
a nut job.
oh God. Okay,
I'm
so
a nut job. I am a nut job that I just, but I do it because I love it, just like you guys. I mean, you're same kind of thing. You wouldn't do it if you didn't enjoy it on some level. It's so I like when you say you're like more than happy to pass that part of it on to somebody else. For me, I'd be like, no, like that's my baby. Like I want to like I
right.
love designing my own graphics, or I love creating my own looks to, my videos, or whether they're short form or long form. I'm like, no, I would want to do that. But there are definitely some skills that I'm sure you take from your full-time job. And Landon has a skill as well, as you were explaining. Like, what skills did you find were transferable when it came to promoting your own band? What were you like learning at your job that you were able to take to the band and was helpful?
I honestly, just the whole picture, I think the bigger picture of it was just that, like, if you want to push further and you want to be a touring band and you hope, you know, to one day get signed and things like that, you have to look at it like also a business. Like you
Yeah.
can't, and unless you're happy being there. And by all means, if you're just happy, you know, being, you know, jamming and doing what you want to do and having fun with it, which we have a lot of fun with it. But I think the biggest takeaway is that you have to see it from a business perspective too, if you want to grow it and you want to develop. And
Mhm.
that's just part of it. And I think that's what I mean, is that it's not that I don't enjoy doing that stuff. I enjoy doing that stuff. But it takes away a lot of the time that I could have writing new music, writing lyrics, you know, writing bass parts, learning new bass techniques. And so it feels very overwhelming at times, because I'm like, man, I wish that we just had an extra set of hands that we could pass some of this,
Yeah.
that logistical stuff off to, if that makes sense. So I don't want to,
Yeah.
like, you know, seem to not enjoy that stuff. I do, and I enjoy marketing, and I think it's fun, you know, and it is rewarding because you see what comes out of that, and it's great when you can put your art in front of more ears. It's wonderful, you know.
Yeah, it sounds like you just really want to focus on the meat of the whole operation, which is the music
Right.
itself. That's
Yes.
that's where your head is, that's where your
100%.
focus is. And for anybody that doesn't know, you sing and play bass in the band. How in the world do you do both at the same time? Because not every musician can do that. So was that something that came naturally to you, or did you have to work on it?
So I definitely I definitely don't think it came naturally to me. Fortunately for me, I grew up singing in choir,
Mm.
and all through school and everything. So I come from a singing background already. So singing has been a huge part of my life for pretty much all my life. Bass, on the other hand, has not. Playing an instrument has not. I picked up bass in 2021, so that
For
was
fun, or was there a reason
so
you
the funny story behind that is actually, we had a bassist in our band for a short period of time. I was dating that bassist for a short period of time, and when we broke up, he left the band, and the sound was obviously different because we were missing a whole instrument. And I've always dabbled around playing guitars and I've always thought it was fun. It was nothing that it was nothing that I took up 100% because I was very invested in doing vocals and singing and continuing developing there. Um, but I was like, hey, like, why can't I do this? Like, why couldn't I try
Yeah.
to do it? Like, I think it looks fun. I like guitar. I I want to try it. I think it's fun, I think it looks great and I want to be more involved in the band in that way because there's parts in the songs where the guys are jamming when there's no vocals and stuff and I would
Mhm.
just be standing there and I'm like, "Man, like I want to be part of that. I want to be in that circle." And so basically I went out and with Lando and we looked at some bases and he helped me pick one out and that's all how it started for me and I've loved it ever since. And the only regret I have with it is not doing it a whole lot sooner. So,
That I
so
love that. That is the most
yeah.
Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham stuff I've ever heard. Like, I will take over your part and I will sing it and write it better than you.
You
Bye,
know,
Nick.
right, right, exactly. So it's fun. I have a great time with it. And I love it. And I love the fact now that I feel just that much more like involved in the band. So there's never those times when it's just instruments playing and I'm not doing anything because I'm always involved. And I love that. And it's just any way that I can be more involved with TimeScar and what's going on with TimeScar, I want to. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Lando and Stan are like my absolutely best friends. I love the both of them. And so the more time we all get to spend together is cool with me. So if
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean that's basically the story behind it. I know I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there. I got excited.
It's okay. You can't go too long on a podcast. You can't. You just can't.
Well, thank you.
Like,
Um, I think the singing and playing at first, yes, it's definitely challenging. I think what makes it not as challenging for me is the fact that Lando, like he also sings and plays. He
Mhm.
sings and plays guitar, and so he kind of gave me some tips, some tips
Oh, okay.
that he knows, and was like, hey, if you do this or you do that, that this will help your process a lot. And so I think that that has helped me too. And then also for me, I noticed that I have to I put my mind in this really sweet spot of kind of concentrating on what I'm doing, but not
Mm.
110% concentrating on what I'm doing. I'm kind of in this sweet pocket where I'm not overthinking it, but I'm not underthinking it either. And it's a very strange place to be, but that's where I have to be able to do both at the same time. It's
What does it take to find that?
it's weird. It's very strange. I can't explain it. It's just like, it's more that you have to feel it than you actually have to know exactly what you're doing. It's very hard to explain. Um, but yeah, so and obviously though it does take a lot of practice because you want it to be a second nature and you want it to be a lot of muscle memory. So even when I'm not at rehearsal 3 or 4 times a week, I'm at least doing bass for 15 to 20 minutes a night. And then I work with a vocal coach twice a month. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it outside of just rehearsals and everything too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Y'all did not come to play. I love it. I mean, you did, but you didn't. Like, you get it. But
Yeah. Yes, the funnest person to be around and hang out and play with, that would be Stan. You go hit him up.
oh, okay. Got it. Well,
He'll hit
so correct me if I'm wrong, but Ouroboros is the most recent release. Tell me
yeah,
about that.
yeah. So that one that one took us a little while to get out, and I think, I think with us is we are so we get so caught up on trying to make everything so perfect that we're our own worst enemies sometimes.
Oh, guilty too.
A
Yeah,
lot of
hate that.
a lot of people do that, but
Yeah.
it's especially hard when you have 3 people coming together and you've all got this idea for how you want something to sound, and you want to have your guitar solo there, and I want to be belting singing there, but somebody else in the band doesn't hear it that way. And so sometimes that can make the creative process last a little bit longer than you anticipate. And I think with Ouroboros, it was just one of those things where we said, hey, we all came to this collective idea and we said, we're going to let people be a little bit more, free with what they want to do on this one, besides saying, hey, I'm dead set in it sounding like this, or I'm dead set in it being this way. We all kind of just came together and said, hey, if you feel like doing that there, then do it there. And do it
Okay.
there, and you do it there. It wasn't any hard headed, discussion. And so for us, once we came to terms with that, it went really smoothly. And I think that I like to leave it kind of open for interpretation. I like people to listen to it, and I like them to kind of take what they want to take out of it and how it applies to their life at that time. But yeah, so yeah, I think we might potentially be doing a video for that, but right now we're working on another track that we're gonna do a video for. So really excited for that one to come out. And yeah, we've got a lot of stuff in the works.
Yeah, there's been some sneak peek reels that I've been seeing from time to time that are exciting. It looks like you treat the studio or your recording area as your chemistry lab, where you just kind
Yes.
of like experiment and go, ah, what about this? And what about this? And what about that? And not everybody is as comfortable experimenting, though. Some people, like, they're in bands and they're terrified to like bring an idea to the rest of the band because they think it's going to get shit on or whatever. Like, I've always wondered what that process is like for musicians. How do you create an environment where you're comfortable enough to experiment? Because I think experimenting is like definitely the path to success when it comes to finding a sound that works for everybody and finding a sound your fans love.
That's a great question. And I think with that is we're all pretty comfortable with each other. Like I said, it's basically been the three of us for a long time now. We've been the constants in the band. So we've all been through times like that where we come to the table with what we believe to be this super stellar cool idea, and then the two other people in the band are like, what? No.
Yeah.
So, I think that part of us, we're used to that. We're used to that in ways from each other, because we know that, for every 100 good ideas that we might have, good ideas that, maybe only a couple of them are really good, or they're gonna jive with the other two people in the project. And so
Mm,
when it gets to that point, if we come to the table and it's like we're feeling really strong about something, um, then that kind of gives us the opportunity to rework that idea, maybe together as a group, and still incorporate it in some way, but maybe just not exactly how it was. And that works out really well for us. And I think that we understand that, and our communication over the last 3 years has gotten so much better, to the point, like,
mm,
used to start, and it wasn't always easy when we started out as a band, and we would, come to the table with ideas, and the other people would shoot them down. It would hurt, it would be hard. Um, but I think now, as times evolved, we've kind of understood better how to communicate with each other and to be more
mm.
understanding of each other's needs. And that's, again, how I go back to saying it's kind of like being in a relationship with multiple.
Yeah. That's
Uh, you know,
relationship 101,
right,
communication.
absolutely. And so I think that it's worked out for us pretty well. But I will definitely say I've had a lot of ideas that other people aren't into, and I think a lot of that comes from, we do have different musical influences, as much as we have that circle where we all connect with our musical influences. There's all we all have our different things outside of that too. Um, so I think that finding that common ground is very, very important. But even more important than that is just knowing how to communicate properly and knowing how to respect each other. And that's
Got
huge.
it. Yeah. Can you give me some examples of what bands might be on the list in that common ground area between the three of you?
Well, there's quite a few. I know, we're all pretty big fans. We like Lacuna Coil. That's a pretty
Hell
big one
yeah.
for us. Lacuna Coil is great. Me and Stan just saw them live a few weeks ago. We
I
were out.
did too. I
Oh,
saw
you
that. I
did?
did. This was like
Okay.
last year. Or was it? It was actually last May. They had rescheduled a date from COVID, and
Okay.
there were still tickets left. And I was like, well, crap, I'm going to go to Minneapolis. But for me, Minneapolis is only an hour away. So I
Yeah.
was like, let's go, let's do it. And then I was like, Christina sounds the same on the record as
I,
she does live.
I'm,
I'm like, oh my God, the vocal
I'm,
tone. I'm telling you, it is my dream to interview her someday and like use a little bit of Italian in the interview. Like
you will.
that's my dream.
You
Oh
will.
my
You will.
God.
You're just gonna
But
will it into existence.
it's going to happen. But your vocal tone, I would argue, is somewhat similar. You stand out. You have a somewhat similar
Thank you.
range. So Lacuna Coil makes sense. Who else is on
Yeah.
the list?
So we've got a lot. I know we all just went to a music festival a few weeks ago. We were really excited to see Corn.
Yeah.
I've seen Corn so many times, but their energy is just amazing. I mean, no matter they've been together for so long, and you know what? It's just every single time that I've seen them, I have never once been disappointed. Um, but I would definitely say Corn. We all really like In Flames a lot. In Flames is a big influence to us. We
Yes.
like bands like Soilwork is great. There I know there's so many. I mean like Brett and we really connect on the super heavy stuff, Flesh God Apocalypse, stuff like that. So and it's awesome because Stan, he really likes stuff that's like you know he really is like Circus Maximus and stuff like that. So he likes that other kind of stuff, and I can get into that stuff too. So it's really great because we all find our common ground. But I mean, there's so we I could sit here and list bands for like an hour with you. We love Bleeding Through. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll tell you tons. Within Temptations, a huge one that we've especially like Wireless came out like a couple
Mm.
days ago, and I was like, we have a separate band chat where we all talk about, band
Yeah.
related stuff. And I was just like, I put Wireless in the band chat and I was like, you guys have to listen to this
We're
now.
covering it.
This
Like
is so good. So yeah, and so I think we all have our things that we really feel super strongly about. But like I said, we definitely have that inner circle of stuff that we love all together. So
it's trust, it's communication, it's
absolutely.
probably inner self work, which I know for you comes through fitness. Does, fitness means a lot to you. Do you think that that kind of helps center you so you can stay focused on what your goals are when it comes to TimeScar?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I feel like that translates to so many other parts in my life in many ways, because it's like I'll go work out at the gym, and I just get in a completely different headspace, and
Yeah.
I'm there with my music, and I'm really invested in the music, and I get into my mode, I get into my tunnel vision, and I'm thinking like, sometimes I'm just so lost in the music, I'm not even really thinking at all. Like, I don't even see anybody around me. There's a lot of the times when I'm sure people probably think I am such a dick because I am working out at the gym, and I just like I have tunnel vision, but I am so lost in my music that nothing really matters besides me and what's happening in my headphones. But for me too, like right now I'm working really hard on getting a pull up, and it sounds so funny, but I remember when I was like 10 years old, I used to jump on that bar and do like 15 of them bad boys, no problem. And now it's like a struggle. It's such a struggle to even do
Yeah.
one. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I want this so bad. And the thing is that I feel like with every little, it's a kind of a funny analogy, whatever, but as small of a thing as that might seem like to somebody, it's huge to me, because if I can
Mhm.
prove to myself that I can do that, I can prove to myself that I can do so many other things. And I tend to not be a super patient person. I don't know if a lot of people are anymore, especially, with
No,
TikTok, just everything. If like people just
that's
want, yeah.
yeah.
So I think that it helps me too in the way of testing my patience. And I like that part of it because there are times, when I go in there and I can do, of course, weight assisted ones, but I can do a lot more weight assisted ones one day. And then I come back a week later and I can't do as many. And it's the most
Mm,
frustrating freaking thing to me in the world. And I like just feel defeated and I want to punch myself. And, but then I realized that that kind of feeling is so necessary. It's so necessary
mm.
and it's part of the process. And so I make myself kind of go through that because I'm like, hey, if I can overcome that and I can continue to overcome it, um, I'm gonna get that push up or that pull up by the end of the year. Promise you that. I
I get
promise. And and so I feel like if I can do this and translate this to other aspects of my life, then there's nothing I won't be able to do. And really I feel like a lot of people's biggest holdups in life are just the fact that they don't believe that they can do something. They just don't
yeah,
believe it. And so because they don't believe that they can do that thing, they don't ever try it. They don't ever even attempt it. And it's like as soon as that failure happens or as soon as something pulls them down, they're they're too frail and too hurt by it to try again, but it's just how life is, and it's all part of the process, it's all part of overcoming things. um and so I feel like I try to do quite a bit of like cardio every day too, because as far as like breathing and stamina and things like that, I feel like all that translates to music because,
right.
when we're doing our live rehearsals and things like that, and I'm jumping around with my bass and I'm playing my bass and, you know, I'll be out there jamming with Stan having a good old time. And then I'm like, oh shit, I gotta sing. And I run back over to the mic,
Yeah,
which happens. I've got to have that breath to be able to have have good notes happen and not be flat or not be sharp or have that breath control. And so it to me all of the fitness stuff translates to everything else in my life and just a much greater picture than just being even just being healthy. So
yeah.
yeah.
Multiple ways. I think everybody has to have that one thing in life that makes them feel human, that also lets them know that, there is a reason to be confident. There is a reason to be excited when you get up every day. There's this that becomes a self-esteem booster. I think we all need at least one of those things. I know your music is going to be that thing for more fans as we go forward. I can't wait to see what comes next. I know we got more on the way. Scarlett, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for getting us excited about what's to come.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate you. And I am so glad to be able to see you face to face. And
Yes.
I really hope to meet you someday. I feel like you're such a great person. I love your content. And yeah, every day when I see your stuff, really makes me think. And I really appreciate that. So thank
Oh, thank you.